Um, Good afternoon. In my last video, I talked about um, story goal and point of view a little bit. And when I was talking about that, I mentioned backstory. And when I mentioned backstory, I went like, ugh. So I figured I'd pick up that thread and talk a little bit about backstory. Backstory is something that writers love. They love the backstory. They love, where their characters. It's really sketching, character sketches. A lot of writers start out writing up backstories. When they were born, the characters were born, and about their family life and where they lived, and that's okay. But knowing all you know about a character, my glasses are crooked. Knowing all you know about a character uh, is not really your character. What makes character is conflict. What makes us all unique is our conflicts, is what we go through in our lives. So while it's important to know the age of your character and a little bit of the background, what makes a character, what makes it the character riveting and interesting is the conflict that he experiences or she experiences, the hot water they're in and how they get out of it, and what they're made of. It's not if they went to Harvard. It's not if they went to Catholic school. It's not if were homeschooled. It's not if their father was an alcoholic, their mother was crazy, their brother's psychotic. None of that really. I mean, it can play into the story, but that backstory, um, which I think defines the character for a lot of writers, especially early beginning writers, that really isn't what makes a character interesting. It's how the character reacts to problems in their story. Now, there's still you still like backstory. I mean, people still enjoy hearing a little bit about backstory, but when you start out a novel and you go into backstory right away, it stops all forward motion. You're talking about the past. You're talking about things that don't have momentum, that don't have conflict, that just is you know, like filling out a form for the census, like where your parents were, what are their names, what's your name, where'd you go to school, what was your favorite subject in school, what is your favorite color, what do you like to eat. I mean, it's almost as boring as that, a backstory. Backstory, if you want to put in a backstory that's pertinent to your character, that brings up the conflict that he overcame or she overcame, then that's good. That's good backstory. And you can put it in there, but you want to do it how you want to do it is you want to make it, you want to put the reader there at that time. You don't want to have it as a remembrance. You want to have it as a standalone chapter. So, in many ways, with backstory, if you really feel the backstory is necessary, put it in the book. And if it's an early backstory, you can put it as the first chapter and put the reader right in the situation. Don't have the character talking about the situation, have the reader in the situation with the character, experiencing in real time what was going on in the past. That's one way of handling backstory, and that's a good way of handling it. The other way of handling backstory is once the story is underway, you're moving forward, you can go forward and then you can break and then go back. A lot of writers do that as far as bringing in backstory scenes further in the narrative. What's deadly is starting out a story with backstory. Is you begin a novel and all of a sudden you say, well, 20 years ago when he was, at Harvard and this, that, and the other thing, and you're just like giving information that has no emotional content, that doesn't show the nettle of the character. It's not good. It's boring. It's fluff, and it really indicates um, a level of execution that isn't very high. In other words, it kind of telegraphs to the reader that you really, you're just kind of giving him stuff that he doesn't really care to know. The other way of putting in backstory is how I do it. You know, But I write mystery, so I'm not going to have long exposition paragraphs. I just dot it in whenever I need to. I put a sentence here, a sentence there, and then I'm just salt and peppering the narrative with the backstory. Which brings me to the reader. Readers are very good at reading, and you have to respect that. So if you think you can bring, that everything you write is brilliant and every idea you have is just brilliant, and you're going to put it in the book, and you think, oh, the readers just, they're going to fall in love with this character and with my writing and everything. That's kind of being a little disrespectful of your reader and underestimating your reader, because readers, they read, and they read a lot of stuff. And I tell people that are writing, you want to write horror, you know who your competition is? And they'll say, oh, I don't know who my competition. Well, your competition is Stephen King. That's who your competition is. I mean, your competition isn't some self-published writer that's, writing, in a mountain over 50 miles away from you. Your competition is Stephen King. Your competition is Dean Koontz. Your competition is the best of the best. So you have to write stories like that, because that's what the readers are reading, and that's what they have expectations of. And again, if you're in love with your backstory of your character, then look at books that are popular and see how they handle their backstory. I do believe that backstory is needed, but what really makes a character is it's not where they went to school, it's not their family, it's not, their first job or anything like that. It's the conflict that you put the character in. So that's what you should really be concerned about. And if you had a choice of writing backstory or writing a scene where the person is in really dire straits, something that's really something he's got to get out of, then you got yourself a story. And that's how you build character. By having the reader see what the character has to go through, what the character is up against. Character is conflict. Characterization is conflict more than it is backstory. So I don't hate backstory. In fact, it's often needed. I think backstory, in many ways, especially for new writers, is more like a character sketch. And a character sketch is not interesting to a reader. So that's what I have to say about backstory. That's all I have to say about backstory. It's important, but you have to have finesse it in there. If you just put chunks of backstory of that has no dramatic content, it's just filling up the pages. You're filling up the pages with fluff. And a reader will see it right away and will close the book, put it away, and never look at any more of your writing. You don't want that to happen. Okay. I think this is it. It's going to be a short one today, because I don't want to mix too much stuff up in one. Then I'll get confused. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.